From Hong Kong tonight, I'm joined by Andrew K.P. Leung, international and independent China specialist, Wasbir Hussaina, strategic affairs and consulting editor, with us from Guwahati. We have former Water Resources Minister and top Congress leader Saifuddin Soz from Srinagar, K.C. Singh, former Secretary Ministry of External Affairs, also joined by Professor Srimati Chakrabarti, a professor of Chinese Studies, and Professor Nayan Sharma of IIT Roorkee, a well-known expert on this. So we have a full panel on this, and this is very significant because it could have an immediate impact on the entire ecology. So let me first go to the scientist here, Professor Nayan Sharma of IIT Roorkee. My first question to you is, how will this dam, this $1.2 billion hydroelectric power station which China is building, how will this impact the Northeast ecologically? Will it have some impact?
Well, it will have very frightening impact, I would like to say. First, as we know that Yarlung Tsangpo, which is the Chinese Tibetan name for Brahmaputra, contributes almost 32% of the flow at Pandu. So with diversion of Yarlung Tsangpo away from Indian side, there will be a serious shortage of water, especially in the winter, in the dry weather period. Secondly, the base flow of Brahmaputra fully is fed from the Himalayan side. So the base flow of Brahmaputra going away means the river will be almost like a very dry channel. Then the dam construct, if it is proposed at a height of almost 4 kilometers above the plains of Assam, will be like a Damocles sword for the Northeast, because this region is known to be highly seismic prone. In 1950, there was a massive earthquake of almost 8.8 on the Richter scale. And in 1897, there was another very large earthquake in the range of almost 8.7 to 8.8. Now, in the event of a massive earthquake of this magnitude occurring in the Northeast, which is very much due as per seismologists, there will be a frightening consequences. I don't like to say that Assam may get wiped out, because there is a direct drop of 3 kilometers from Namche Barwa, the site of the proposed dam, to the plains of Assam. Then there will be very serious geomorphological consequences. For instance, Brahmaputra is known to be the largest braided river in the world. You'll never see any braiding even in Amazon or in any other big rivers of the world. Such a braided river will have serious geomorphological consequences, especially in the dry weather period starting from October to the month of April.
Okay.
So this is going to make the river practically non-navigable.
Well, I think
because
this is frightening.
At least 2 meter depth is required.
This is frightening,
and
Mr.
then
Sharma.
lastly, not least, that the climate change is a real scenario we are facing, and in the event of a climate change which is going on unabated, there will be great reduction in the flow of Brahmaputra. And superimpose on this, if the flow of Yarlung Tsangpo is diverted, then there will be serious shortage of water resources in the Northeast.
I just want to ask Andrew.
And
Andrew,
lastly, I will say the ecology
let me get a view from China.
Will be seriously impeded.
Tell me, Andrew, had India built a dam, let me put it to you like this, had India built a dam on a downstream river, take a situation where a river goes downstream from India to China, and then India built a dam, which had the same consequences for China as this will have for India, how would China have reacted, Andrew?
Well, I think that you've got to look at the matter from both sides. I think it's a very, very serious matter for India as well as for China, because water now is at a premium amongst many developing countries, what with climate change and the exhaustion of water resources. Now, of course, it is a question of how much water, if the dam is going to be built, A, whether it's going to be safe, as the earlier interlocutor was referring to, and B, how much water would in fact be diverted. But what I'm trying to say is that for China and for India, water resources are extremely important. And if you look at the Brahmaputra, it's not going to affect the population, and there's a huge population in the area of India only, but other neighboring countries, Bangladesh, for example, Bhutan, and also Nepal, and in certain parts of Burma. So it is a huge area, including a population probably the size of both Western Europe and North America combined. So it's a huge amount of people.
Then why is China doing it?
If the river is diverted.
Why is China doing it?
Now,
why is China doing it? And why has China hidden this? Why has China?
I'm trying to reply to you.
Why has China? Andrew,
I'm trying to reply to you.
But I want to ask you a question, Andrew. Yeah. My question to you is, I have every time in the past that China has been asked about this, they said, no, we are not doing. It's not true. We have assured the people of India that there is no such project. It is a work of fiction. And now China is acknowledging that they were probably not giving the correct picture to the Indians all along.
Well, I think that there was an earlier memorandum of understanding signed in the year 2002. But I think that facts are facts. I mean, you've got to make the case known to China. And what I'm trying to say is that China's also, water resources are also very important, particularly it's linked to the western supply of the south-north water diversion project of China. The original route through Tibet didn't appear to be practicable. So they're looking, obviously, at the Brahmaputra. But what I'm trying to say earlier on is that it's not only the water resources for China. China must realize, of course, it's going to affect a huge population in that part of India and also the neighboring countries. Now,
yes.
Which leads me to a very important point. I think this problem cannot be solved by confrontation. It's going to make matters much worse because it affects the livelihood of both countries. I think that we have got to look at the problem creatively. You know, trying to come up with a sort of creative situation, a solution.
How transparent is the Chinese government, Andrew? This is a question of the entire Indian Northeast. And Mr. Saifuddin, so I'll come to you, Andrew. Let me come to Mr. Saifuddin. You've been Water Resources Minister. Mr. Soos, what has the government done? If the government has known about it, why has it not done anything? And why has the government accepted all the empty assurances from Beijing on this subject for years on end? Why? Is there no accountability? Can the northeast of India be compromised in this way?
I can tell you that it is a very serious matter and we cannot afford to be complacent on this issue. What I imagine this time is that the Ministry of Water Resources and our Ministry of External Affairs must get closer on this issue and try to obtain more credible information on what the Chinese are doing with the Brahmaputra. We cannot afford the, hampering of the flow of Brahmaputra. That cannot be done. So ultimately, we must succeed in telling Chinese that there has to be a mechanism, joint mechanism of inspections, as we have a mechanism in shape for between Bangladesh and India and between Pakistan and India. So therefore, Chinese must agree to an inspection by the water experts from India. That has to be done because otherwise Chinese have been saying that they are not trying to divert the waters of the Brahmaputra.
No, but
so therefore, let the Ministry of Water Resources, give us more credible, information.
But what is the basis of our information? No, what is I must say this here. This is going to amount to the greatest betrayal of the people of the Northeast, Mr. Soos. I have on record what the minister said in April 2010 and what he said today. Since then, he says, I'll find out. I don't know. In April 2010, he said it will not have any impact. Today, he says, I will find out a little bit more. 6 months back, he told Times, now we will find out. I mean, you have Google Maps, you have extensive information. Is the government simply, Mr. Soos, scared of taking on the Chinese on this issue?
We must go.
Are you scared of taking on the Chinese?
We must go beyond the situation that was explained to us through satellite imaging. There was some suspicion, and Chinese explained that at that point of time.
Why did you take that explanation at face value?
That is 3-4 years ago.
But
now the suspicion has deepened.
Yes.
And there is some evidence that they are doing something with the Brahmaputra waters, and therefore the Ministry of Water Resources must try to obtain more credible information and share it with the nation, because it is a very serious issue.
KC.
And so that the Ministry of External Affairs also must put in effort, a sizable effort, to tell the nation what is happening.
I want to place
China.
on record, Mr. Soos, and I go to KC. It is a fact that the Chinese government is not willing to share a single ounce of concrete information with India about the Zhangmu project. It's also a fact that the Ministry of External Affairs has done nothing to push the Chinese to share that information, hence effectively compromising the interests of India's northeast. KC Singh.
No, there are forums available. There is an international law that riparian states, the rights of riparian states cannot be jeopardized.
Well, they have been.
International law.
There has been inaction.
So,
there has been
a bilateral.
No, but sir,
initially it can be a bilateral situation.
Yeah, but all
when the most credible information is available, that can be shared internationally.
Sir, let me share with you that within days, and KC Singh, this is the point we have, within days of Wen Jiabao's visit to India in December 2010, intelligence agencies reported 24 new projects believed to be hydropower projects along the Brahmaputra river and its tributaries on the Chinese side. So the information is there with India, but we don't want to do anything about it because we'll end up jeopardizing relations with Beijing. We are happy to compromise the interests of the people of Assam because we don't want to take on the Chinese, KC.
No, you're absolutely right. I think we tend to be reactive. This has been in the public domain for some time. Then we were told the Chinese have given some assurances that these are run-of-the-river projects and there will be no damming of the rivers. But I think China, as the point was made earlier, China has really created a serious water security issue, not just for India, but in respect of their other rivers also, the Mekong Delta, downstream from Yangtze, the Three Gorges Dam. There's a lot of debate going on in China itself. I think there is a mismanagement of the water situation within China. Industrialization, pollution, overutilization, and the answer is not to start seizing water now from Brahmaputra, because Brahmaputra is an international river. It's not just India and China, there's Bangladesh involved there.
Absolutely.
And last year there was a declaration which was called the Dhaka Declaration, talking of water security and the role that water plays in the livelihood of the people of this area. Navigation, connectivity, livelihood. It's a question of raising awareness all along China's periphery. I think we bring pressure from South Asia, from East Asia, bringing the countries like Vietnam and so on and so forth. China needs to be sensitized. China has a history of acting unilaterally when their national interests are involved. But China has to realize that there are rights of the down riparian states, unfortunately not fully codified by international law, but there is customary law on that. And you cannot take unilateral actions when there are international rivers which affect other populations and other people. And if pressure is built up all along China's periphery, then that is where China starts responding. But I think our response has been very defensive, explaining on behalf of China and so on and so forth.
Exactly. It's almost like that, almost as if we're explaining on behalf of China, isn't it, Professor Chakrabarti? We have abjectly failed, Professor Chakrabarti, to defend the interests of our own people in this matter, and the long-term consequences are disastrous, as the scientists explained. Professor Chakrabarti, yes. I want Professor Chakrabarti to come in.
Talk more on that. Let me just ask you one question. Why are these important issues between India and China always a one-day media event? You know, I'm saying this because about 2 years back, there was a similar report by the National Remote Sensing Agency that the Chinese are building a dam on the Brahmaputra. And then you had a program here and I was one of the panelists along with Ambassador G. Parthasarathi. And there I mentioned that, you know, this has to be tackled diplomatically. India has to take Bangladesh on board. And, you know, we had a bit of a heated discussion and the matter ended there. Why don't, you know, why these issues are not
There's
pursued?
a very